Greetings and welcome to another wonderful edition of the Superintendent Spotlight. I'm Dr. Michael Martirano, the proud superintendent of the St. Mary's County Public School System. And as stated, this is another edition of the Superintendent Spotlight where we take the opportunity to spotlight the individuals in our community who are our leaders and individuals making an impact in education on behalf of all of our wonderful students in the St. Mary's County Public School System. Today I have the honor and privilege to interview Captain Ted Mills of Patuxent Naval Air Station. And we're going to talk about his role in terms of what he does for the leadership of the base, as we affectionately refer to it in the county, as well as in the educational opportunities for our young people. So, Captain Mills, welcome.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here.
We are glad you're here today.
Great.
So as we start the conversation, why don't you give the community a little bit of background of who you are and what it means to be the CO, the commanding officer of the base.
Oh, okay. Well, as Dr. Martirano mentioned, I am the commanding officer of the base. I have 26 years of service in the Navy and actually entered service in a Navy uniform 30 years ago. Some of that time was education, and I spent most of my career flying airplanes. I flew the S-3 Vikings for almost 20 years and commanded a squadron eventually. From there, I went to the Pentagon and did what we call desk duty and learned the ins and outs of how the Navy gets administered. And from there, I came here to command this air station. So glad to have the privilege to do that. And what the base is, I like to describe it as the mall. There's lots of activities that go on the base, and there's lots of things that would be analogous to a store. The biggest one being, of course, the Naval Air Systems Command.
Right.
That could be Macy's, Gimbel, Sears, pick your big store. Naval Air Systems Command has entities all over the country, but their headquarters is here at Naval Air Station Patuxent River. And all those activities have to be housed in one area, and that's the base. And that's what the base does. We're the mall that provides opportunities for all these other folks to do their job every day and get them done. And so my job is to make sure they're safe, secure, all the facilities are working properly. They have sewage, electricity, security, good roads to work on, police protection, all the things that you would expect a city to provide for all the occupants, or what a mall would provide to the respective stores that are in there. And that's my job every day.
Right.
So.
Well, we are so honored, as I said once, that you're here to talk to us today. But also, we are so respectful of the community of recognizing the importance of the military installation here in our community. And also understanding that many of our young people in our school district, we have 17,500 students in the school system, public school system, and almost a third of those students are associated with the military. Their parents are. Over 6,000 individuals associated with the military. And so therefore, it's very important to have that symbiotic relationship. And I want to commend you publicly for the work that you've done with the school system to support education. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of those partnerships? I know we have a very active PEP program,
Yes,
the volunteer program. Why don't you inform the community a little bit more about that and how that really benefits our students?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because when I first came to Patuxent River, I heard an admiral call Patuxent River and the St. Mary's County relationship the best community relations in the Navy, that the Navy has. And it starts with the school system. Some of the things that we have that go a long way to service those are, as you mentioned, the Personal Excellence Partnership,
Right.
which is basically a way to relay certain needs for volunteers from the base that can provide all sorts of different things. And we routinely get these calls for volunteers, of which people on base stampede to. The nice thing about the base is they're very invested in the community, just like the community is invested in the base. These are their children. They're volunteering to help. This is their community. They not only work on Patuxent River, they live in the county next to the schools. So it's important to them to volunteer, and they take every opportunity they can. We have programs like Starbase Atlantis, and now recently started up Starbase Atlantis 2,
Right.
where we have fifth graders that come in on board the base in this Department of Defense sponsored program, and they learn an awful lot about technology science, how that comes into the aviation community.
Right.
Since we are a naval air station, we're focused on aviation. And they have a chance to actually learn in that environment. And a summer camp STEM environment, which is just tremendous. And we've had hundreds of students go through that very successfully. Another one that we have is a STEM outreach program.
Correct.
Where we work with many of your science, technology, engineering, math folks, to establish a curriculum, or I should say a continuum is a better word, because we really want to encourage folks to follow in those STEM disciplines, because if they come from St. Mary's County or this local area around here, and they learn skills and disciplines that are useful to our folks on base, we find that when they get hired on base, they like to stay here, and then we have a workforce that is stable and invested, and we have a lot of long-term knowledge that will stay with us for 20 or 30 years, helping develop the next generation of the tools that our Navy is going to use in the future, and that's a great asset to us. So it really pays off for us to invest an awful lot in the school system, because we're cultivating our own seed corn when we do that, and we're happy to do it.
Well, and you've really encapsulated that nicely in terms of our mission as a school system is to ensure that every child is college and career ready, and everybody knows what the level of intensity every employee in the school system is focused on making certain that every young person graduates. And you've been to our graduations, you've been a great community supporter of what we do, and that is more than just symbolism. Every time I picked up the phone, you have the opportunity to talk with you directly. For supports, we have the school liaison officer that we were just talking about earlier, who just does some great work, Don Simpson.
Don Simpson's fantastic.
And I don't think the community understands that there is that level of outreach, but everything that we do is designed to benefit our young people. And you've talked to me so many times about the economic pipeline, the work that we are doing with our young people and our teachers are doing with our young people to prepare them for careers, because we acknowledge that Naval Station Patuxent River is a very large employer, the #1 employer in the county. I think, how many, about over 20,000 individuals?
We have about 23,000 people altogether. It flexes based on what's going on in the base, but between 22 and 23. And the interesting thing that is different about this base than other bases around the Navy and other bases for the other services in the Department of Defense is we only have about 2,500 active duty military people on the base. And that's different, very different, which means those civilian folks that have come up, as I mentioned before, and that end up contributing to the Navy, not necessarily in uniform, but are still part of that DoD family and are building for those future generations, are extremely important. Probably more important here than maybe some other bases that don't have as many civilians aboard. So that interaction really plays well. And Navy folks, having been in the Navy a long time now, I've lived in a lot of different places, and I can see where that interaction and that investment in the future is just critical here, and why it's such a linchpin for what we do every day.
Absolutely. And I also heard a statistic, and I think you've actually told me this, that of the individuals who do work on base, of those 23,000, I believe in the low 70%, those individuals actually live in the county. There's a large percentage of individuals who work on base who actually live in the county as well.
That's true. I forget the exact number, but 70% would be about right. And the remainder live in commuting distance. I, for instance, don't live in St. Mary's County because it was an opportunity for my family not to move again. But most of them live within commuting distance, and St. Mary's County being a linchpin in the area is certainly important to every single one of them. Every time anyone goes out that gate and they see a clean, nice area to live, it's important to them.
Right. So. If you would, we've had the conversation on numerous occasions about the symbiotic relationship between the Naval Air Station and the public school system in the community. And you've talked in public, and we appreciate your words, about the quality school system that St. Mary's County Public School System is, and what that means for you, for recruitment, and for individuals who are moving here. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I can give you a personal anecdote. My wife and I have lived several different places, and prior to where we live now, we lived 9 different places in 10 years. And not always did we find the schools to be the quality that we wanted them to be. Now, that doesn't mean those folks weren't trying. There's a lot of things to navigate there. But when you know you only have a short time and you have to get everything out of the schools that you can with your children, sometimes you have to make decisions. We have sent our children to private schools, and many times paying out of our own pocket to do that. When we have people that are looking to come from a place like Norfolk or San Diego or other high Navy concentration areas, and one of the first questions they ask if they have a family is, how are the schools there? We can give them a positive answer every single time. We have an outstanding school system. Thank you to you.
Thank you.
And because of that, we don't have to worry about that being a selling point to get the best and brightest to come here on military orders. And as far as the civilian side as well, engineers are in demand all over the country. Places like NASA hires them, industry hires them. People that are good in aerospace are going to be in demand with the Air Force as well as the Navy. So we want to be able to hire the best and brightest and have them come here. And of course, they're going to ask the same question as well. They want their children to go to great schools. So the fact that St. Mary's County Public Schools are of the quality that they are really allows us that much more margin in doing the job well, because we get those type of people here.
Right, and we appreciate your public words of endorsement. We recognize that, as I've already stated, the symbiotic relationship, that great connection to the viability, vitality of both organizations, and being very aware that we have many students associated with the military, their parents, and very concerned about those transitions that you talked about. We have a very robust program that's designed to make certain that transition for students who are in the military.
Student-to-student program.
Student to student, exactly. But also, I think if you're not a part of the military and you're not moving around often, I don't think people understand the significant challenges when you have to uproot a child from a school several times in their career, how difficult and challenging that can be. And we pride ourselves that working with the base and the liaison and the leadership and the school system's sensitivity to that, to get that child to assimilate, work to make certain they're a part of the classes that they need to. And as I've stated, if individuals have any challenges with that, to communicate with Dawn, the school liaison officer, to me personally, because we want to make that work. So this has been a great conversation, and I appreciate, I know you're a busy man as well, taking time out. And so I've had this wonderful opportunity to talk to Captain Mills today, Naval Air Station Patuxent River Commanding Officer. And you can see the outstanding relationship that we have and the partnerships, whether it's STEM-oriented or Starbase Atlantis or the PEP program, the Personal Excellence Program for volunteering. All of these community partnerships and partnerships with the Captain Mills is very, very important, or are very important for us in terms of the benefit for our young people. So as we're working to make certain that all children are college and career ready, it's the partnerships that we've just defined today that really benefit all of our students. And so as I end this segment of the Superintendent Spotlight, I want to thank you for tuning in. And once again, I'm Dr. Michael Martirano, the proud Superintendent of the St. Mary's County Public School System. Thank you and have a wonderful day.